Well, hello, my friends. Randy Turpin here, doing two things at one time. I am coming to you live on Facebook, but also recording the audio for next week's episode of 5 a.m. with Dr. Randy Turpin. That's my weekly podcast. Hope you folks have caught my most recent episode where I talk about the revival that began back in January of this year in Willard, Ohio, where my friend Pastor Greg Griffith pastors. If you've missed that episode, it's still there. You can watch it, but I'm coming to you for a different reason today, and there's a very special reason why I've chosen to come live on Facebook while at the same time I'm recording my podcast episode. Many of you know that I've focused quite a bit on revival culture, the history revival, all of that in my podcast. You've seen a lot. Those of you who follow me on Facebook, you've seen a lot that I've posted about revival. And I'm kind of continuing on that theme a little bit here right now. But some of you may have seen where I put up an image the other day on Facebook of some artwork. I said, another book is about to be released. Well, you are here at the very moment, right after I just went to my mailbox right over there and got this package. I haven't even opened it yet. It's the proof copy of the book. And I know you don't even know what it's about, and I hope this came out okay. I don't know. Let's see. We're gonna find out together. Let's see. We're going to have to give me a moment or two just to look at it myself first before I show it to you. I want to make sure it's presentable. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I'm not going to sit here and read it. I'm just looking at it, making sure that in general it came out looking all right. Yeah, so far so good. Huh? Yeah. Okay, I think we'll probably be able to release this a little later today. And if I do release this today, what I'll do, I'll add in the comments or in the description area for my podcast a link to how you can get this book if you want it. All right, you ready to see what it is? Okay, here's the cover. This is a book, and let me tell you what it is. The Shepherd Remains is the title of it. Francis Asbury's Revolutionary War Journal, 1775 to 1784. Edited by J. Randolph Turpin Jr. That's me. And on the cover, also at the bottom, it has a quote from Francis Asbury that says, "I am determined by the grace of God not to leave them, let the consequence be what it may." Francis Asbury, August 7th, 1775. Why on earth am I producing a book like this? Well, I'll tell you, the reason I actually produced the book is a little different than the actual reason why I first took the dive into Francis Asbury's journal. Well, in doing my family history research, I discovered that my seventh great-grandfather, Solomon Turpin II, actually hosted Methodist ministers, as they were pioneering the Methodist movement, hosted them at his home, and services were held at Solomon Turpin's home. And he hosted Francis Asbury in his home. as well as other Methodist leaders of that period. And and this was during the Revolutionary War period. And as I was looking at this initially because of its value as it relates to my family history, but the more I looked at Francis Asbury's journal, where he has multiple entries in the journal referencing the Turpin family during that period of time, the more I got into this, the more that I just was taken by his journal, the journal itself. Now, his original journal was much bigger than this. This right here is 560 pages, 530 some pages. This book that I published is, but it's only part of volume 1 of a 3-part journal. So it would really be something to read his entire 3-volume journal, but that's not what I'm giving you here in this book. It's just this part, The Shepherd Remains. And what does that actually mean, The Shepherd Remains? Well, when the Revolutionary War broke out, John Wesley in England sent a notice to all of his Methodist ministers in America. They were British ministers. And he told them, you need to come back home to England, because John Wesley was opposed to Americans seeking their independence. But although a number of Methodists did return to England, 2 of them did not, and one of those 2 was Francis Asbury. And in response to Wesley's call for him to come back to England, he says, "I'm determined by the grace of God not to leave them. Let the consequence be what it may." And Asbury was, he tried to play it neutral as much as he could regarding politics. He considered himself loyal to the crown up to this point, but it would have endangered his mission in America had he voiced a British loyalty. And so he actually did shift over time to really believing in the American cause. However, through it all, he tried to keep a good kingdom focus. And all through this book, you're going to see how he interacted with what was going on in the culture around him, the things he was dealing with in terms of the sins of people, having to encounter carnality, what he ran into in the political strife of the day, everything that was happening in the war around him. He interacts with all of that. But more importantly than that, you see his own struggle and you see his own devotion to God. And it's no wonder, when I read this, it's no wonder that God used him in such a way to pave the way for the Second Great Awakening. Now, the Second Great Awakening, which came after the Revolutionary War, Asbury is not generally credited with having ignited the fire of that awakening, but as one person put it, he may not have lit the fire, but he did stack the wood. He did stack the wood. That's pretty cool the way they've expressed that. But anyway, I've come on here and have devoted this episode to announcing the launch of this book. And I will put a link in the description for the podcast. It will be in the comments section for those of you who are watching this by Facebook. After I get off here, I'll make sure that it's in there. And those of you who are students of American history, those of you who are students of revival history, those of you who just want to be inspired by a autobiographical view of a life well lived in difficult times, upholding the standard of faith. And the thing that I was really taken by was how transparent and vulnerable Asbury made himself regarding his own inner struggles through all of this. I enjoyed it. If you don't enjoy it, at least I enjoyed writing it. Actually, Asbury wrote it many years ago, but I just edited it, and I edited. Have you ever noticed how awkward that word is? Edited it. Edited the book, and I've added commentary throughout it, some of my own commentary. Now, for those of you who are really into the history part, in the appendix section, I've included some sections dealing with, let me get to the contents page here. A glossary of his terms that he used, because a lot of the expressions that Francis Asbury used, we don't use today. Okay, so I've included those in the book. What I call the dating problem. He had, no, that's not talking about dating as in relational dating. I'm talking about the dates for his journal entries. Some of his dates were wrong. It was either an error on his part or on the part of his editors, his original editors. And then we have a chronology of political and Revolutionary War events relevant to Francis Asbury's story. And then I actually have an appendix item. I know it's a little bit self-serving, but those of you who are really into the Turpin history part of this, you might appreciate it. The Turpin family and the rise of Methodism in the American colonies. No, we were not one of the primary, my ancestors were not primary players in the story, but they were good examples of supportive families. They were supportive families and individuals in the whole rise of the Methodist movement. And being in support of the Methodist movement, they were in effect playing a role, preparing the way for the Second Great Awakening. And there's some correspondence in here. There's a little bit about the other Methodist minister who stayed. His name was James Dempster. He was the other minister that we don't know as much about. I think he spent the entire Revolutionary period in the northern part of New York State, I think. But yeah, he decided to stay as well because he did not want to forsake the flock. So this is about a man, Francis Asbury. When revolution threatened to tear a nation apart, one man chose to stay, is what it says on the back. It's a first-hand account of faith under fire during America's founding era. All right. Okay. There it is. Well, after recording that Facebook Live session, I just took some time browsing through this journal of Francis Asbury's. And, of course, I've been through it with a fine-tooth comb as an editor, but I decided just to sit back and just enjoy reading portions of it, just for the enjoyment of it, not just for the sake of producing a book. And I just want to illustrate to you the kind of entries, insightful entries that are in this book. Let's take, for example, Asbury's journal entry from May 8th and 9th of 1776. We see a naval battle that he describes, May 8th. About 10 o'clock today, tidings arrived that there had been a great skirmish off Christiana between 13 row galleys, those were war boats on the colonial side, and the Roebuck man of war, that was a large British warship. That after an encounter of 3 or 4 hours, the man of war withdrew, as it was thought, much shattered. At this news, the inhabitants of the city were all in commotion, and the women especially were greatly shocked. And then he goes into this short prayer. He says, Lord, what a world is this? Give me wisdom and patience, that I may stand still and see the salvation of God. Can you just hear the trust that's in that man's prayer there? I mean, all of this going on, and And there are parts in this journal you could see that the danger came very close for the people that Asbury loved, and close to him as well. May 9th, he continued, he said, "My mind was free, and in meeting 2 classes, we had much of the solemn power of God. At night, I preached from these words, which are so applicable to the circumstances of the people. We have no continuing city here." Many people seem to feel the weight of this divine truth, so suitable to their present condition. Now, that's just an example. I just randomly chose these entries just so that you can get a glimpse of just the real life stuff that this man was dealing with. And I know this is more of a promotional episode than anything else, but I am sharing with you something that's near to my heart. Just looking at how real people, not much different from you and me, dealt with real life challenges while trying to be a good steward of the call that God had placed on their life. And, I found myself just identifying so much, even though I've not lived in a war-torn area or period of time here in America, yet many of his challenges I could relate to, some of the turmoil, some of the questioning. And there is value on looking back on the testimony of others in this manner. Okay, folks, let's just wrap this up. I hope you've enjoyed this in some way today. And again, if you want that book in the description, we'll have a link to it. If not, if you don't want it, that's fine. Okay. Well, join me here again next week, and we'll continue with another episode here on 5 a.m. with Dr. Randy Turpin. God bless you.